Not the same. What? Were you exact? No.
You know we got it? So there's more?
I don't know. Is that our 14th board meeting? I thought I had a couple of things. So I said, I'm sitting here all at the board meeting with it in my phone. I just saw the tablet, and I thought it's too late to get back on bigger tablets.
I mean, it was before.
Shoot, we could have had a interesting board meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Were you able to see when you?
Yeah, well, the offices didn't burn down, so just a shop.
I think yesterday I bought a new car online. I'm looking for that in my.
No, he started a YouTube channel. I worked for him.
My youngest daughter and her husband, that's what they did. They love their cars, had no issues with it.
Oh, look at those cheeks.
Oh!
That just makes my whole uterus go clench.
It's a used car.
Fifth grandchild, first girl.
I don't.
She's gonna have pink everything.
Probably after 4 boys.
Oh.
I think so. She's got 3 older brothers, so.
I don't know.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock, call the meeting order, we'll start saying the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll start out, is there any public comment? Pat?
Why is there an emergency meeting on a Friday morning when everybody is at work? Why this date and time?
Guess we just thought it'd work for everybody that would,
People that aren't too happy.
oh yeah.
Well, there was a possible consultant that was gonna come in until we got into some information and realized we needed to figure out our own information before anybody tried to make it here and change their schedules around. So I think that was part of the reason.
Yeah, and the board needs to have you people here for us to meet, so.
We can't discuss stuff, and once we started getting into this issue of, okay, do we have all the files? Do we know how the original sewer went in? Do we know how Duck Lake sewer went in? Do we have capacity? It brought a bunch of questions that we need to figure out, and we can only work together in an open meeting and discuss that stuff.
Well, if you had a later meeting, though, you'd have more people here to ask you more questions and give you more input.
And were it not for trying to get somebody from the business world during their business day to come in, that was what the original planning was.
I disagree with you there, Roger.
Well, you don't want more people here?
There'd be more people, but this is, people it's gonna affect is mostly retired people that ain't working. And we kinda figured, might be they'd better come on morning and at night since it gets started so early.
Are you telling me from 9 AM until, let's say, 6 or 7 tonight would have made a big difference?
I don't think.
Okay.
In my opinion, this is the first of many, many meetings in regard to this issue. So it's just, I would just wanted to open a conversation. So, we get a few people here and get into conversation, and then people are gonna hear about it, and we're gonna get more conversation. So that's my opinion, it's the first of many.
Thank you.
Even though I'm not supposed to.
Anybody else? If not, we'll move on. A motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
Motion by Nancy. Seconded by Lisa. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, it puts us down to potential sewer extension. Guess what's brought it on is the Bremen's sewer stops at Blanchard Hill there. And then it don't start again down to Bennett's Corner. And the Bremens would like to have it finished being connected.
The use of ARPA funds, they requested ARPA funds.
ARPA fund money.
Say what?
They requested ARPA funds to complete that extension. So that's why we're here.
COVID relief money.
Yeah,
What's that?
the emergency.
Yeah, that COVID relief money.
So exploring that, we came upon the map that has different phases. And in 1979, there were 3 planned phases to happen. Number 1 got totally done. Duck Lake got done. And there's some spots in the middle that got done that are, and we're kind of hanging. Looking for those files that's not gonna happen from the original ones. Talk is the state has some, but they're very small, not fleshed out kind of stuff that they needed to have. So the original map of what happened then doesn't really exist other than this little map we have with some phases. And in that phase, phase 2 would have encompassed their property and part of Loon Lake. So looking at a ball that got dropped a long time ago, files that don't exist, we're looking at this old plan that had 3 phases to try and assess whether this was a plan that needs to be followed, there's interest to be followed, and how we could follow it, is how I understand it. Is that kinda how you guys are too?
And then there was a question that got brought up about, is our sewer system capable of handling any new, and that's kind of where we left it to discuss here today.
Correct. Kevin, can you answer that? Are we at full capacity?
No.
How much more can we handle?
I think we put Duck Lake on, it pushed us up to 60 or 65%, but, we'd have to get a consultant to go over all the stuff
Correct.
to figure us where we're at with that.
Okay, thank you.
Crystal was built at 50% capacity is what is in, what I've read in our books.
Okay,
And they've added Duck Lake to it, so it was overbuilt for
Crystal, but,
future use.
yeah, well, that's a good idea. Can you tell me, our existing bonds, are they in the Crystal sewer name or are they in the county's name? Simply because I was told that if, you know, you can go through the county to get the bonds and you get a better rate. Do you know whose name they're in?
The bonds,
The existing bonds for Duck Lake?
that's through the Drain Commission.
It is through the county then?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that was a question that was asked and I had no idea. Thank you.
When you say records don't exist, I find that impossible to believe. Everybody that had anything to do should be contacted, including the sanitation engineer, the state, and to say to us, files don't exist. They may not exist on this level, but there are files.
Somewhere.
And, you go back to when Lester Stoll made the final, push, and he was the township supervisor at that time that said, enough is enough, we're going to have sewers. So you go back, and I don't know the keeping of township records, but I'm telling you, there are 4 different levels that you can get your information from. The original contractor has the records, the sanitation engineer has the record, the state has the record, and we floated bonds. And so the bond company also has records. So to say to us, there's no files, there's no records, I'm not gonna buy that.
Well, that's me coming in as a new person, not knowing any of that kerfluffle that went on, trying to find records here, and then saying there's gotta be some at the state or a health department. So, yes, this is an informational thing, we're trying to catch up.
They told us they haven't found them yet, Kathy. I didn't get the impression you said there are no records. Just
The
you hadn't found
originals
them.
were destroyed in that fire that was there. I was not here then, I am going from what I have heard from everybody else.
And I don't know, I have no idea, Kurt, you have any idea?
Most of them were destroyed, weren't they, Kevin?
No,
They weren't?
the offices wasn't destroyed.
None of the officers?
Everything that was in the office I saved.
So there are
That's
records.
where out there in the office.
Okay. Rumors exist.
There you go.
Definitely, and you just gotta try and gather all the information you can, especially when you weren't here, and it is, yeah, the 1975 is probably when planning originally started, or the
No,
79 stuff?
74, I think.
it was 60s, and I just gave you the clue of Lester Stoll
I wrote his name
as,
down.
as supervisor, and you take it from there, and you'll see when this got started, and the bond company, who loaned us the money, what those bonds were, and when that was dated. That was the official start. So don't,
But I guess my question, and it should be to Pat, and I apologize. All those records, are those records gonna tell us why we didn't do 2 houses on
Right.
Crystal Lake?
No.
why you didn't
No.
do 2 houses, what?
On Crystal Lake? Cause that's the $1 million question everybody is asking,
Why?
and everybody's up in arms about. And those records aren't gonna show the conversation that they had, why those 2 houses weren't included.
It's going to
That's my
show
question.
what the layout was, what the plan was,
We know, yeah,
okay?
we know that from what we have by seeing,
And, okay,
sorry.
from
sorry.
day one, and I can tell you how many sewer directors, supervisors I've asked the question to. Why weren't they hooked up? And the answer comes back always, the truth. And again, there's a lot of ways of lying, and omission is one of them. And if you want the truth, and somebody lies by omission, you're never gonna get the truth. Every sewer director has said and stuck to the exact same story from Arlene Turner down. They had an agricultural exemption. They did not have an agricultural exception. And later, and Scott Brundage, in a huff, told me one day, Pat, quit asking that question. If you don't like the answers, go to the health department. So there's been a sway factor there from start to finish. And that farm area has had over 50 years to make a decision. And it never came. It never came. And I hate to say, but this has become very personal because of Mr. Bremen himself. And Mr. Bremen, being Charlie Bremen, has sat on the township board for a lot of years. And he is well trenched in the good old boy system. And if he didn't like what his father said, he's had a lot of years to make it right. So in my opinion, strictly my opinion, and because we never got an honest answer from the sewer directors, if they said no let me give you an example. I'm a backwater. I was told what I was going to be done. The cottage, complete sewer system. You know what? There's an empty lot. You gotta stub it. Really? Because it was a buildable site. So we build the house, complete sewer system. There were houses under construction at that time. There were vacant lots. But it was determined in the agreement that we had the lake. And I'm going to tell you from the sanitation engineer years back had made the comment that everybody complained that that farm area was a cause of a lot of the lake's problem at the time. Knowing that, they were still void of putting in to the sewer. In my opinion, that was a personal agreement not to do it. And if that stopped the original layout from being completed, then they should have been charged all those years, just like I've been charged, or everybody else that did right, and we're the ones on our backs. We paid off the bonds, and we paid off the sewers, and we did what we were told. Nobody knocked on the door and said, "Do you want it?" So what made them different than us? It was forced on us, and so you did what you were asked to do for the township. And after all these years, it's never been an issue until now. And what we aren't getting told is that if you open it up now and they want to develop that farm, which is, it's their property, they have a right to do it, then the second question comes in, the depth of our, it's going to cost more money, and they've not paid a cent all these years. Why weren't they charged for making their decision all those years ago? And in fact, why weren't they being penalized by the health department or the sewer department? And you can follow that by finding out who the supervisors were during that time, and that will answer a lot of your questions. And this is hard on our complete township because it's turned personal, and it shouldn't be. But that is the fact. Nobody wants to do harm to Charlie Brayman's family. Nobody. But you have to use that name because that's what we're talking about. I wished it were John Doe, but it isn't. It's Charlie Brayman's farm. It's the Brayman farm that I grew up with and would go in during milking time, and it was the happiest place in the world at milking time.
We gotta move on, Pat, okay?
Can I take this in another direction?
Yes.
Sarah and I have done some research over the past week. And I think a lot of this heated debate is because of the township ARPA funds.
Because
So
of
there's
what?
been the township ARPA funds.
COVID
So-
money.
Yes.
What we can look at is another way of doing these studies, doing some research. There is a state revolving fund through Eagle we need, and that would be a way to go. Now, no way, form will any sort of bond, free funds, whatever, grants, I guess I should call them, pay for everything. But if we can look at not just one family, but look at the feasibility of including Loon Lake, anything else that hasn't been done, was proposed to do, let's take it that way with the sewer extension, okay? And keep our ARPA money out of it, so there isn't a big controversy. There is a different way to look at this.
Okay, an answer to that, Nancy, is when Duck Lake came on, our township board loaned them money. Has it ever been paid back? But not only did they add on, but then the originals, our usage costs went way up.
It
And
went up $15 a quarter, didn't it? I think it was 45 and now it's 60.
$11 was the original,
Oh, well, I was on with the 45.
okay?
now
And
it's
it has
60.
continued to go up.
Expenses
I
go
would
all the
have
time.
to ask Kevin, how much can the ponds, the farm, and our existing equipment be ample to handle us? And if there's any breakdowns, it's on our backs again. How many times are you asking for extensions, and are they in agreement to it? My objection is, I want those answers, and if I don't get them here, I will get answers, because you all know I do my homework.
Sure.
And number two, I'm also going to say, there is more involved here, because if you extend that, that opens up the opportunity to develop that farm district. And no matter if there's 2 houses in a development or 22 houses in a development, where is the consideration? And you say no ARF money, but that's, you have to look at the one step leads to a second step.
Well, and I think that's what we're trying to get a handle on. There were steps that were laid out that are in our ordinance that we're looking at. Are these appropriate steps to go back to? Because Crystal Township does own the eastern shore of Loon Lake. They all have septics. That's a lake. Like, Clean Water Fund addresses things like that. And this is not just for one person. This was, let's take a look at the phases that already existed, because they were planned for a reason. And does that reason still exist?
Where else aren't we hooked?
For example, Chris Beard, at the end of this road right here, this dirt road, they're not hooked up. I don't know if Lyle is, but Chris isn't.
Well, I don't know. Kevin, didn't you say there's someone, up on the hill that isn't hooked up, that is actually gonna, so.
Yeah.
And that's a new construction, let's say fairly new construction.
But now I was told if you were farther away than 200 feet from the lake, you did not have to hook up to the sewer.
I don't think that's.
Old
know.
Street's entirely hooked up, and that's more than 200 feet away from the lake.
Well, my street wasn't.
Sure.
We were told, and y'all know where I live, and we from day one.
Pat, you have some valid things there, but I don't think that they pertain to whether or not we need to look forward with this plan. It was put in place how many years ago? I don't have a date on this map.
Well, probably back when they did the original sewer.
Right, but like Pat said, she thought it got started in the 60s. It was mid-70s before construction started. So,
But it was a personal decision that overrode, they made the decision.
we're not
The
talking about district in
the
the
problem
past.
is, Pat, everybody says that, but we go back all the way to what, 70? And there ain't one supervisor or any clerk or anybody that's wrote down why it was never put there.
You know, Kurt.
Well, I know, I was just, but
Been told.
someone might be lying to me too, I don't.
So how's Wendy, is all his development tapped into the sewer then?
No, because we just made the comment that there's one house out there that is.
One house.
But
the
he
majority of
paid,
them.
and see, that's where I was gonna go. There is a policy to extend the sewer. And it says that the person requesting the sewer puts on deposit the amount sufficient to cover the cost of designing, preparing the plan, specifications, and securing the permits. And Wendy did all of that. So he paid what he needed to pay to get that hooked to the sewer. So we do have that, so kind of against what Pat's saying, we do have a policy that tells people what they can do to hook to the sewer. And that's been in effect from day one. And we have people, out in Duck Lake or wherever, somebody wants to be hooked up. And like I said, we had Wendy that went after the sewer was in, we had Waldron Road that went after the sewer was hooked in. If somebody else today came in, instead of naming names, somebody came in and said they wanted to be hooked to the sewer, this is what we're gonna tell them they need to do, and this is what we told the Brayman's they needed to do.
Has anybody else expressed interest in being added to our sewer? I knew that was a subject that.
I don't even think the people on the east side of Loon Lake know about this meeting. They should be contacted.
I agree, that's why, I agree.
If we're gonna go over to Mud/Swan Lake, then as well. But again, where do we start? A feasibility study? A consultant?
There has been other extensions that you guys aren't even talking about. And
Yeah, I don't
how were they handled?
I don't
Do
know.
you know about them?
Sure, I
It's an
know.
information meeting, we love it.
I lived here my entire life,
Yeah,
and Waldron Road, remember when they put the extension up there to several houses? Okay. Bob Bennett, just down the road from me, he extended the sewer to his place. What steps did those people all have to take?
Didn't they follow those?
Bob Bennett went to the sewer, he was within the 200 feet of the ordinance. So
It was within
all
the
he had to do was run a pipe to that manhole, and that's what he paid to do.
So that's all he had to pay to get hooked up to the sewer, was just to run that
He
pipe?
had to pay the construction of it and the trunkage fee.
He didn't have to have a study done?
No,
The main was already there, wasn't it, Kevin?
what's that?
The main was already there.
Yeah,
It wasn't down to him, it was down between the
corner.
two houses. No, not even to the corner, right between mine hearts and Mike Bennett's.
But because it was within the 200 feet, you
Sure.
Blanchard, look back in your files and you'll see that that also was an issue. And the point is that all of these years, and the family over there have had over 50 years to make this decision. Nobody has ever asked why they're waiting till now. What is the real reason that they want to go in now?
Why don't you turn around, Pat, and ask me?
You're darn right I will.
Okay, I appreciate that. The reason is because our taxes have gotten so high that it's getting difficult to pay our taxes. And it's one of those things where obviously I'm getting a lot older. I'm not gonna be around, for a lot more years. And it's one of those things where I would rather have you guys deal with me than have a developer or something comes in there. If we get a developer hooked in on this deal, it's probably not gonna be what you're looking for. You're much better off dealing with me than you are with some big company. And I'm trying to help politics with that.
Why haven't you hooked up all these years, and was it not your father that spoke and said, we don't want it?
I can tell you that my dad wouldn't even come to a meeting, let alone step up and speak.
Yeah. Charlie, what was the reason, and you guys have
Okay,
had,
yeah.
Yeah, we better.
You got it? Yeah, we're getting off track.
And the reason it wasn't put down through there is there's such a long area there with only 2 homes. And they said that they couldn't afford to put it all the way down through there just to hook up 2 homes onto it. And obviously, we had enough acreage so that we could put in septic.
Like your drain field.
But isn't there a long run to even get to Loon Lake?
Yeah,
Without
that's
any
what I'm
homes.
thinking. And you think even if we went to Swan Lake,
That's why we need a study.
yeah,
Let's see, it was a long run to go to Duck Lake too.
Right, but there's a lot more homes there than.
Well, once you got ordered, yeah, cause we ain't gonna pick up any homes on Swan, just what's on this.
Right, and how many people at Loon Lake are even gonna want this?
That's my question.
Because it's gonna
And
cost them more money and.
and that's it, do we pay for this study
and that takes in,
before
Evergreen.
we know if anyone else is interested?
I think we should contact Bloom Lake.
I agree.
I hate to do a study and find out no one in Loon Lake even want it.
Exactly.
but you're dealing with another township.
Only the east
No,
side, Pat.
east
just
side,
the east side.
Crystal.
Yeah, but
If
people
we
never-
want to bring in Evergreen, we need to contact Evergreen and see what their thoughts are.
That's what I was gonna say, is because then the people in Evergreen are saying, hey, what about us, you know, especially on the North Shore.
In my personal opinion, if you're gonna do the lake, you need to do the lake, that's
Right.
it.
To do, say again?
If we were gonna do just Senator Road, I don't know what benefit that really has to the lake people. You'd really wanna do the entire Loon Lake, that's just my personal
No,
opinion.
it makes sense.
Does Moon Lakes go out into the lake
No,
Sure
like
does.
Crystal did?
I'm sure it does.
Oh, he does the sewer, or their sewer?
Flush it?
I don't know.
It's probably as
Maybe.
no, I
I
don't
mean,
know.
to check the claims, right?
Well,
Can
right, and,
I ask, did the farming family over there, did they approach this board and ask for ARPA money?
that is what started our fact-finding mission. And we have now, found the existing plan that was there, and even Sydney's on it, like you guys' house is on phase 2. So they had a lot of plans that did not come to fruition.
Raymond's have wanted to be something done before the ARPA money came around. It wasn't just when the ARPA money came, they came to it, they'd been wanting us to do something before that, but.
I would like to say something too that Pat said about a lot of the pollution that's coming from our farm. That is nothing but a bunch of bull.
That's what?
That's nothing but a bunch of bull. They used to come out in front of our house a couple times a year, the health department did, and sample the lake out there. And they said there's not a problem here at all. So when the Lake Association does their study each year, obviously they come down through in front of our house, take their samples all the way around the lake. Does it ever come back saying that ours is by far the worst spot on the lake? They come back with a spot here, a spot there, has milfoil or something in it. We don't, geez, guys, look at our place over there. We don't even have the fields for the fertilizer and stuff, aren't even up to the lake, aren't even up to the road or anything.
So what do you recommend?
Well, let's start contacting
Evergreen
residents
Loon.
at Evergreen Township.
Yep, I agree. Let's see if it's worth even.
Exploring, knowing the capacity that there is some room for expansion is valuable information. Knowing that the files exist are awesome. Kevin, I'll come out to see you.
You know, and I don't even
I'll show you
know,
everything I got,
Sweet.
I
which
don't
I don't
even,
have a lot, I don't think, but.
I don't know if we should just limit it to Loon and Swan Lake, cause like I said, years ago, Chris Beard approached me, you know, right up here, and that's why the name, I keep using his name, cause he did say, what does it take to get what? the Martins, down Sydney Road. I mean, I'm not familiar with these little corners, well, even past the fire barn. Those
Anyone.
people aren't hooked.
Anyone,
Yeah, but so
anyone
that's,
interested,
that's what I'm not
So-
That's
sure
what I
how
would
we.
say, anybody
might
do
have to
that.
take out some advertising there, Pat.
Yeah,
That's, because I was,
Yeah.
my initial thought
I
was
agree.
letters to people who live on Senator, but then,
We're not, yeah.
But-
we're
We're
not- we don't wanna
piecemealing
limit
like it
this.
already was,
Let's
yeah.
not limit it.
yeah. So maybe just, again, have another, put it in the paper, we're having a public hearing or public meeting to discuss potential, if you're interested in being hooked to the.
And this one in the
Do we need
evening,
to do
maybe.
something to capture their attention, as in, hey, it could go down this road, it could encompass, you know what I'm trying to say?
yeah.
People are gonna go, I'm not near there, that's not gonna be me, but it could be them.
Mhm.
Can we ask Roger, would you be interested in having a sewer come to your house?
No.
And I have totally understand that. Roger has lots of room for his septic area and stuff like that. He's up, I used to farm that land. That land's quite sandy in that area where Roger was at, perfect drainage and everything. And if I was Roger, I sure wouldn't wanna have it come to my house and have to pay the extra cost.
No.
And that's what we need to know.
And that's exactly what we need to know.
When I first moved there 32 years ago, we contacted consumers about natural gas. And back then, it was like $30,000 to get it run to our place, and then anybody in between that would tap into it would have to pay us. At that time, it was just me, my dad, and Brad Stone, like, no.
But then
No, you're right, Charlie.
Right.
I would like fiber to come.
obviously, I'm hooked to the sewer, so it's a totally different thing, but at the cost of a drain field today,
Yes.
it makes me wonder
Right.
if it, in the long run, if it may be beneficial. But that's,
It was like
I
Charlie said,
don't,
like,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Drain fields aren't cheap, so
No,
that's the other,
we don't need a drain.
oh.
like Charlie said, though, you dump a bucket of water and it disappears within seconds, you know.
On a one-to-one basis, a house here or a house there, I think that is basically the difference. There are exceptions. And if you're talking one house that wasn't, and now they want it, then that's approached as a one-on-one. What you're suggesting now is opening up the future of that farm property.
Well, run it all the way to Loon Lake.
And the point is, you're not talking a one-on-one, you're talking about a possible development. And how will that affect this township? And I don't understand why the Lake Association isn't here in force and fighting this, because they fight on the basis of protecting the lake and not in just pollution. But how many boats will be added?
Well, yeah, Lake Association, they're there.
Yeah,
People here.
I know that there is so many areas that need to be considered. This isn't the same as a Chris coming over and saying, my mom's hooked up, but could you extend it? We're not talking we're talking two different, I mean, in actuality, that's the fact.
I guess the fact that I personally feel is Charlie and Karen have come to us asking us to help them hook their homes to the sewer. They've not said, I've heard lots of rumors of development, that they're gonna sell it off and develop it. They have not requested sewer for a development. They've requested sewer for their two homes. So, in my opinion, and I could be totally wrong, if we end up hooking sewer to Charlie and Karen's two homes, and then 2 years down the road after that's done, they decide they wanna sell that and develop that property, then we're starting at square one again. You've got to do studies to see how many homes it can choose, et cetera. So we're hearing lots of rumors and lots of things that this hookup of 2 homes, in my opinion, is 1-to-1, like you're saying with Chris.
I agree.
Did
Because
they
we-
not come to you and ask for ARPA money to do this?
To hook to the sewer.
Later
2
on.
homes to took their 2 homes to the sewer. So again, but maybe I'm totally off base.
And I
but
think
it's-
Kevin can tell me if I'm wrong, the reason we can't come back this way is we have to pump it uphill, right, Kevin? So we gotta take the sewer
I think you
to,
gotta fall and go the other way towards the east. Without checking,
Right.
you have to
You
pump
have
up,
to.
but going back towards Bennett's.
How much is this gonna cost, Kevin?
well, that's what we're trying to figure out, how to go around the bump, figure it
I'm
out.
not really
Who's gonna pay to
sure,
get it figured out?
I'm not really sure what, until just now, that you wanna hook 2 homes up. That might be possible, just like we hooked Bob up.
Mhm.
I mean, you have to be within 200, if you're within 200 feet of our ordinance says, your drain field goes bad, the county's gonna say, they call me and they say, are they within 200 feet? And I say yea or nay, or if they say, yeah, they are, I have to go out and measure, then they can force you to come to us. But if you want to come to us with just 2 homes, we need to look at that and see if we can do that.
My problem is, I'm not sure if 2 homes, whatever this cost is gonna be, if it's gonna be this huge cost, we gotta split it between 2 homes, and it's not feasible. If we can split it among 10 homes, then maybe it could be more feasible. If we split it between 50 homes, like what you guys are hearing stories of, which is baloney. But anyway, then the cost would be down low enough that everybody can afford it.
If John didn't have a fit, you stole that property out from under you.
Who are you talking about, John?
Right.
Oh.
Our son would too.
Yeah.
They could have come to you at any time over these years.
I think Pam had said that they had done it previously.
That's what I was gonna say, didn't I hear that they have come
Yeah, they
previously to the?
have.
How many times have they come in 50 years?
Well, they came quite a few years ago, back to you, didn't they, Kevin and Charlie, try to figure it out?
Yeah, we talked about,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Quite a few
5,
years
6, 7 years ago or something.
So why was it never done?
Because, for what we understood, then we was going by ordinance that they'd have to stand the whole cost.
And that's the issue.
Right, that's why we're here
That's the
today.
bottom line.
Didn't Nancy just say, though, that there's other options for financing some of the project like this?
That would be for phases, and we got some ballpark, we talked with an engineer the other day for, Fleet
Yeah, it's Fleet and Vanderbrink.
Fleet and Vanderbilt. And, he said he is currently doing a system for 120 homes, and this is when we started exploring, okay, the phase 2 is also Loon Lake and Sydney Road, so let's start counting up the houses in phase 2 and see where we're at. He said, well, I'm doing a system currently for 120 homes. They have began planning in 2016 or 17, and it is under construction now, and it is an $8.5 million project. So the ballpark is way up there. And it has a long planning time with multiple sources of funding. So to know if that's the kind of project that you're gonna enter, you have to trade information and say, do we have a need? And here's our original plan, like you guys, do you wanna hook up? Is Loon Lake interested? Is Evergreen interested? This is an exploratory to feel out the area of, do we want this infrastructure within our township?
See, what I'm wondering though is if the Brandons have asked for this assistance for so many years, Nancy says there's other sources available for grants, why wasn't this all explored years ago when they wanted it?
I wasn't here years ago.
That's
I can't answer that question.
And I guess the other thing my understanding, I could be wrong here, is that the grants do not exist for single homes.
No.
Grants exist for
Projects.
projects.
Very
So
true.
that's-
If you read the Morning Sun, several,
That's
communities
the
in the area
point.
just got a lot of grant funds from some of these sources.
Yep. And that is the point, that it started with a singular request, but it
Right.
opened up the door to a plan that was never completed and balls that were dropped in the past.
But the ARPA funds were presented by the federal government for the betterment of the community, correct?
Correct,
As a whole.
correct.
The ARPA funds absolutely mentioned right in there for projects like lake projects where the sewer doesn't go all the way around.
Yes.
For finishing those sewer projects is exactly what it said. And that is where we started on that deal.
Okay, I'm also going to tell you, there are 3 townships and in Michigan that are now in lawsuits. 2 of them are south of us and 1 of them is to the west of us. And so there's a precedence now, and it is I'm going to tell you, you would think the name was Crystal, Michigan. And Clinton Township, I think, is one of them. And what this brings is a class action suit. Not a regular lawsuit, but a class action. And the mitigation is that everyone that participated from day one receives a refund, all.
Why? You have service.
What?
You have service. You've paid for your service and you have service. It's not like your service is being
We
taken away.
created that system.
Correct.
If there was a problem, and I'm not saying there was a problem with sewage over there, but if there was, they should have been penalized for it. I'm saying, don't put it on us for what previous boards did or didn't do.
I'm not understanding what's on
And you're
you.
doing homework to find money to help that family.
But it's not that, it's not that, just that family. We are looking to expand it to other areas, not just one family. That's my understanding.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're all
If we
clear
would
on
put
that.
50 homes over there, it would do much more for the township in all the added tax, all the added revenue that would come in. It would help out everybody in there. As I say 50, we all know that that's a farce. So,
Would it be better spent there than on roads or this building?
It's not taking away from those though, it's a different kind of money.
And if you look at ARPA and you talk to the feds, not the state, but the feds, you will see how many lawsuits are pending because of false spending of that money.
I think we all agreed that we weren't gonna
We're
allow
not
that to
touching
happen,
the
and that's
ARPA.
why we're
I
having
guess-
this meeting.
Yes.
All
Can
right.
I make a motion that we deny the Raymond's request for ARPA funds for a sewer project? I
Yes.
would make that motion.
I will second that motion.
Can you bring that up at this meeting?
Yeah, as long as the whole board's here.
Yeah.
Got a motion to deny the Bremen ARPA fund money. Motion by Pat, second by Sarah. Any more discussion?
I just wanna add that we are gonna look and have more meetings concerning extending our
Right,
sewer.
this motion was to deny use of ARPA funds for the
To
Raymond
put this
project.
issue
Side.
on the table.
Go forward with what we're really trying to do.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carried.
So that step of it.
That is settled.
There are other options out there for financing.
Yeah.
things like this.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Grant,
So, 'cause-
it will never pay 100% of any of it, but it will pay 50%.
50%.
If we were to put this issue, But there are several grants.
There are community development block grants, there's Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, there's Clean Water Fund,
That's considered,
there are HUD grants.
I'm sorry, Pat.
you're on our time. Why are you doing the homework?
I'm doing the homework for the current phase and the other residents who are within that phase two that existed.
Okay. You know what? I know you guys for a long time and you're gonna do what you're gonna do. No matter what you hear from the constituents and the people. And so,
Well, I'm basing mine off of documents that I've been finding. That's what I'm basing, how I'm going about things are the documents, because we all have a different perspective. You may see something one way and I see it a totally different way. We may read the
absolutely.
same documents and come away with completely different ideas about it, but at least you can refer back to a document, not what someone said or 14 boards ago and that stuff.
Then let me ask you a question. When they say they've talked a lot about getting hooked up, did anybody tell them to go to the Clean Act? Did anybody tell them? Do your
Those are
homework
for
and find out.
projects, those are for large
Those are for-
projects, not single
Not
individuals.
Municipalities. Kevin, do you have anything to add?
Not really.
Good idea.
Smart man.
Thanks for coming.
Do you have anything to subtract?
An individual's interest brought it up, but we are not looking at a project for individuals from that.
And that was the reason for the meeting, is to see if anybody else is interested.
Correct.
I think now we're gonna send out advertisements, letters, to see if anybody else, if nobody else is interested, then there's no
Put it
point in
away.
having any more discussions, and then we'll have to go by what the ordinance says. I mean, it's that,
There's an ordinance? What's the number?
yeah, Sarah, didn't you say you were gonna get that for them?
I have it number 3. Number 3, and then it's a dash 40. And
There
then
you
there's a
go.
17.
17, I think, is the newest one.
Okay.
If anybody would care to check it out, you're more than welcome to check it out. I
Make
can get another
copies.
copy.
And yeah, we can make copies.
What were you gonna
Yeah.
say, Kevin? You were gonna add something?
I guess I kinda like need to know what your plans are. If
Right.
we're just trying to hook up 2 houses, that's probably maybe possible, but if we're doing, selling lots and everything, that's putting in one bigger piece of pipe and all the laterals coming to it.
And that's why I need to know how much it's gonna cost, to know how much we're gonna do.
Cause if you're doing your house, I think
No,
you
and
could
then
probably get
there-
it to across the
It
street,
has to be put on.
but you'd have to, you gotta pay a contract, Hargit, whoever, to put that pipe in. And then your rent will go to it, your house go to it, and then across the street into there.
So what I'll do
Then you're
is,
looking at
I'm just gonna rough draft.
paying the
this,
trunkage
rough
fee,
draft,
like everybody has to do. I think it's up to,
advertisement, and then I'll send it out
around
to everybody.
3,700
Please
per house
add, subtract,
to hook to us, and then you get your $60
Good out
a quarter
there.
bill every
put,
quarter.
you know.
If a person put the line down through there,
What
I'm
if
sure
they
it's
have
gonna be
to
too late before.
put in all of the hookup there at that time.
We don't wanna look like, we have not enough information on the background, on
Yeah.
anything, we're not gonna do the
Yeah,
intent to apply.
You would probably
We will be
want,
losing
if you put a line in for some more lots,
Right.
of a
that's
huge
where it gets
amount
sticky, I
that they
believe.
still
'Cause,
have,
you
but
know,
they'll still have a month
working with the
later on.
DEQ on that.
And
get
this one
some
would have been for
information.
2024 year anyway.
Now,
But
it
you both have to have an engineer
needs
do
to be
some price.
estimated.
Well,
You know what to apply for.
Oh, yeah.
You
See
can
what
vote
size
on
pipe
it,
that needs to be in for that many homes, to come in and then go across the street.
People
And then,
will come connect.
if you was to do that,
And ask me questions.
I would just put the stubs in then. That's, I don't know, $80 for a stub, and they're already there. That way they can hook right to the stub, dig it back up and hook to it.
Would you have to start paying the sewer charge at the
No.
time of, no?
Not until the house is on there, it has to have the house and,
Okay. That would only make sense then.
right.
Yeah, Public comment, Kurt?
Okay, we got any public comment?
Yeah, we got several questions here that I'd like to ask. I better put my glasses on so I can read them.
Same thing, right.
How about down there across from where the pump station is? Yeah, that would definitely be within the 200-foot range. So we could hook up down there at any time.
Where at?
Right across the road from Bennett's, down there from Mike Bennett's,
On Meinhardt's.
Meinhardt.
Yeah, that's where the sewer starts, it goes around the west side of the lake.
So it would be, we could hook lots across the road from there at any time into it, cause it's within 200 feet of that.
I would believe so. I don't know why, I don't know how many lots are there and how much room we have. With that, yeah, that's a possibility, but do you wanna go across, selling a lot and having them pay for it all? And you're going across the road for every lot, tearing the road up. It'd be, almost make sense if there's one pipe on your side of the road, all stubbed in and one pipe going across. But then you're talking about having that engineered.
Mhm.
If it's just one house coming across, then we don't have to have it engineered. That's,
But that involves tearing up the road.
right. And then they got directional boring now, so, and I don't know what that
Yeah.
costs.
I had a guy come to me, somebody from the lake neighbor, and they do directional boring. And they said that they could bore it right down to our house, that'd be a small pipe, but it'd only be enough capacity for the two houses. But that would be all directional boring underneath there. But obviously, we have to have a pump up at each house to pump it into.
So that would probably cost you more money than gravity. Yeah, a little single pump's gonna cost you $80,000-$90,000. I haven't bought one, last one I bought was for the racetrack. We didn't buy it, Ron bought it through us.
Mhm.
And I think it was about $8,000.
And if that
8,500.
pump fails, you're in a hell of a mess.
So what happens if Loon Lake is connected? Won't it come back down through here?
Do there, that's why we need an engineer and consultant.
But in your case there, we have to take some shots to see if this gravity will.
I'll probably go that way around.
Well, it's too bad that since the Braymonds wanted this for so long, that this whole, what you're doing right now couldn't have been explored with maybe more people wanting to join in, and that probably when they asked, it would have been a lot more cost effective than today.
One of the things about.
That's water under the bridge, but.
Over to Loon Lake, you're talking about if they want it, going down Senator Road, I know that property like the back of my hand. Obviously, the only people who are gonna say yes, that we would like to have sewer come down through here is the back row of people down in the swamp area there a little bit.
Okay.
Everybody,
Side roads on Loon Lake.
yeah, but,
Off of
yeah,
Senator.
way back in.
That's Senator Road too.
Everybody who's up towards the
Oh,
lake
there is. It's still
aren't
Senator
gonna
Road.
be
Benny's
wanting
house
the
is
sewer
on
to come through there, cause their ground's all up high.
Driveways.
Go to house number.
Interesting. Okay.
If it needs to be engineered, I guess we would need to know what cost, the cost of the engineering.
Right.
And how much are the hookup charges? Is that 3,700?
Close, it goes up 2.5% compounded per year, so it's a debt share up to.
4,000.
What?
estimate.
Yeah, I think we just hooked one up in town here, I think it was 30, I'd have to ask, Janet what the charge was, but,
That's if there's a pipe already there, all right?
what's that?
That's if there's a sewer pipe already there. Would this come under like Duck
Yeah,
Lake, it
yeah,
cost
it's
them, what, 7,000 to hook up?
6,800 over there.
68?
And that is not including the bond that they're paying off, or is that wrapped into that bond?
No, that's just a hookup.
No, that's the hook, that's their trunkage fee.
They pay a monthly bill,
They
just
pay
like-
that to the sewer department
Gotcha,
for
okay.
buy-in.
Gotcha,
Crystal's like 37, I think, 3,700.
okay.
Who would you suggest for a civil engineer?
You know, there are probably all expensive, but Wade Trim did Duck Lake. I can get on the computer and find several different ones. Slicer, Fishback,
They've all worked with you before.
yeah.
How about Olson, Meyer, and May, have you worked with them at all?
No. I haven't really worked, since I've been here, I haven't had to work with anyone. I haven't had to do anything with any engineers. I know
Before you
Dean
go.
did.
I have to go to work. Yeah, well, what was your question?
Yeah.
Comment?
My public comment,
Tell me your name.
Linda Horak. I recently, a year and a half ago, bought a house on Crystal, at corner of Crystal and Colby, and when I bought it, I was told that there was a gap in the sewer system between the fire barn and, I think they said Minor Road, or maybe all the way down to the dock, somewhere in there. If there was an exploration of a project, that I think those owners should be contacted and inquired. It's a fairly low, swampy kind of area in there, and would certainly be beneficial to the ecology of the area to eliminate those. And I'm concerned, because I have no information on my septic system, and I see some failures possibly in the future.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah,
Thank you for coming.
thank you.
Sorry, I didn't recognize you earlier.
That's okay.
If you go to the health department, they'll have maps and everything up there that will show right where your septic system is.
Where?
Yeah, good luck. I bought a house a year and a half ago,
Yeah,
and
at the
I,
health department, I
yeah.
know, I used to work with.
They
the
didn't have
health
any for
departments
mine.
before. I developed houses
We
and
found
all
it.
that stuff, so I just had a
Good old boy system
It's never
is
ending.
really well and alive.
Any more, Charlie?
Nope, you have anything, Kenny? I had no idea that it was gonna cost this much. And obviously, I'm not somebody who's uptown at the coffee shop and know what's going on, I guess. But I have heard absolutely nothing negative about it. And, I'm amazed why people would even think about getting against it.
I'm surprised that you would think that we would do anything that would cause harm to Crystal Lake, because we love it.
Any more public comment? Get a motion adjourned?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Nancy, second by Patty to adjourn at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Never.
Okay.
Every single board meeting.
I stepped on it, yeah.
Oh my goodness, I totally would have said that.
And I know it well.
Oh, Monday. Sore. Especially with Brian.
He loves his son, huh?
I like it when I'm graded.
That's like I said.
Just as you go forward.